else. Killing you for minutes. I had no idea how to get rid after what they did to me to get rid from the stage. And then he said something so powerful. He pointed at his grandchild, Khatan and Kalab, said, but today I want to tell everybody, those are my revenge. Those are my revenge. Hitler didn't want any Jew to be alive all over the world, especially not in Germany. He wanted Germany to be Judenrein, free of Jews. And said, we don't give it to him. Because the Germans should see that my grandchild is walking on the streets of Berlin, Munich, Cologne, or wherever, with the beard, with the hat, with the tzitzit, as a proud Jew. And everybody should understand that we won the war. So you see, you have all kinds of ways how to see the story of Jews being in Germany today. I'm coming from a place, it's called Krefeld. I know that Krefeld is difficult to pronounce for some Americans, but there are some places in America which are difficult to pronounce for us as well. For example, I was invited to speak in Boston, Massachusetts. So also hard for me. Krefeld is a city in West Germany. If you would have a speaker, somebody makes a Farbrengen from East Germany, he might give you a different story than me from West Germany, even though there's no wall, as I hope you know, anymore in Germany. But still, it's different if you come a little bit different if you come from the West or if you come from the East. Our town has about 250,000 people living over there, and that's the place where I grew up. I wasn't involved at all for several reasons in Yiddishkeit until I guess I was about 18 years old, 18 years old. And I was interested in the politics of Israel. And I got a book about politics in Israel. And on this book, it was written by a German, was a picture. And on this picture, you could see a shliach who put tefillin on a soldier on a tank. And I never saw something like this in my life before. And this picture was like a bomb, brain, like it went right into the brain. From this picture, I guess the whole story until today started. What are tefillin? What is he doing? Why is putting these black things on somebody else? I have to find out. How do I find out in those times? Was the beginning of the internet. Perhaps you remember, I don't know how it was in America. In Germany, everything started with AOL, American Online. 1 hour was $5. And AOL had something very beautiful that you could search through all the members of AOL with certain words. So if you put in the word Rabbi, he's scanning all the profiles of everybody who is on AOL, and you can chat with them and you can contact them. So I put the word Chabad, and who's coming up? Rabbi Teichtal from Berlin. Wow. When he heard my story, and he heard that with 18, you have to make a decision to go to the army or to make civil service instead. The idea was you should do civil service in Israel, learn in yeshiva, and get the German government to pay for it because they don't understand what's a yeshiva. So this is what happened. I went to Israel and I became one of the first students of the Yeshivat Mayanot in Yerushalayim, still in the old building. The food came from the restaurant. 6, 7 students, more rabbis than students. It was a very, very intense and very, very extreme, very, very good time. In Mayanot, which changed my life, I guess what most changed my life was the first lesson I ever got. You know what's the first lesson they taught me? How long you stay here, now one thing. if you learn here what's an Aleph, you have an obligation to teach somebody who doesn't know how an Aleph looks, just to teach him that's an Aleph. If you know Aleph Bet Gimmel, teach him Aleph Bet Gimmel. If that's all what you know, that's your job. I learned over there how to survive in a desert, because our community in Krefeld in those times, like 1999, was a small, not small, but like middle-sized German Jewish community full of Russian Jews, obviously not connected to Judaism. And the community was run by people who had a feeling of, I don't know if it's in English, nostalgia. You know what's nostalgia? So they were like from Poland, nostalgia, from Israel. They knew something from their grandparents about Judaism. They had the feeling, okay, we are Jews, we come together every Friday and we can eat shrimps and play the piano, but we come together. And this was the level of the community. When I came back from the yeshiva, I was highly inspired. And I started right away to make my first big mistake. What was my first big mistake? I saw the community doesn't have a picture of the Rebbe. So I took a picture of the Rebbe and I placed it in the Kiddush room, and the Third World War started. Everybody was so afraid of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Why are so many people in Germany, and I guess in other countries, afraid of the Rebbe? Because they understand if a shliach comes to town, he's one person against 100,000s, but he is not, how we say, bitul afilu not be'elef. You know, dava mashuhu. You put him in, you cannot annul it. You put him in and you will make everything to cheese. You will make everything positive. And I think that was one of the reasons why we had a lot of problems in the beginning. And I couldn't understand why. And it started with the picture of the Rebbe. So what could be bad about picture of the Rebbe? But for other people, it was like, oh, it starts with the picture of the Rebbe, and a little bit later, everybody has a beard and everybody has tzitzis. That's the worst thing which could happen to us after the Holocaust. So forget about it. So what we did, we started to do everything undercover, a little bit like Russian style in the Jewish community. Unbelievable. We had a siddur, which was Tilat Hashem, because they didn't know the difference between siddur, Tilat Hashem, and the Ashkenaz siddur or something like this. It took many years for them to find out that the Chanukiah can also be round and not like the Rambam. And we had many, many troubles, and was very, very political, difficult in the community. So we tried what we could. What's the first thing many, many shluchim start when they come to a new Jewish community? We established a Chevra Kadisha, because people are dying. You cannot just bury them like a dog, you know. So there was no Tara, there was nothing. This was the first thing. Hello. Was the first thing we did. But everything we did was with pressure against us, was being nervous that somebody will scream. When I became a rabbi and got my smicha, I didn't tell nothing to the community. And the community was in the process of getting a huge new community center. And they thought, if we have a big community center, we need a rabbi. So what could be better to take a very, very young rabbi, because we can control him, you know, we pay him. And if you pay him, you know, he's doing, that's what they were dreaming about. So everything we did was undercover, because also now they were paying and it was very difficult to get along. Everything changed when we were on vacation in Los Angeles. If you live in Germany, there are certain places in the world where you go for vacation, because we went many times to Israel. My wife wanted to see something else, and LA is one of the very, very nice community. And while we were in Los Angeles, the board of the community started to make serious discussion about changes in the shul, because they use the time that I'm on vacation. They wanted to start using, it's called the kosher list. The kosher list. Kosher list was something which was already old, 10 years, not updated. And all the cheap products from the store inside without hechsherim, a low level or even not kosher. They started to have discussions about it. I was so many kilometers, thousands of kilometers away in Los Angeles, was so nervous and broken. I didn't knew anybody in those times. I was very fresh in the whole thing. I didn't knew anybody in LA, but I knew there's one rabbi, it's very famous, it's Rabbi Kunin. So I had the idea, I want to talk to him. I want to talk to somebody. I need to open up and I need some help. So I emailed him. People told me, it's very difficult to see him. I said, okay, give me the email. Rabbi Kunin, I'm a young rabbi from Germany. I'm on vacation in Los Angeles. I have serious problems in the community. If you're very broken, if you have time to talk to me, it would be very nice. Next morning, I wake up. I have an email from Rabbi Kunin. This is my cell phone. Call me immediately. You know him.
Yeah.
Call me immediately. So I called him up. Said, Rabbi Wagner, was waiting for your call all morning. I see you in 15 minutes in Westwood Synagogue. And he hung up. So I canceled the plan for today. And I told to my wife, let's go. It's never there. I came there and then, wow, 770 over there. I didn't know that those times. The secretary downstairs said, oh, you're Rabbi Wagner? Yeah. Oh, that's so good. You're coming. Rabbi Kunin is waiting for you urgently. Well, my wife said, what's going on? So it was out of this world. And when I came up to the synagogue over there, we had my little daughter was with us. She was like 4 years old. And I was so happy to have a playground in the shul. So she could be on the playground and leave me alone. This was mamish hashgacha pratit. And I was sitting with Rabbi Kunin. Don't ask me why, and don't ask me how. But I started to talk from the heart and from the soul. And I told him a story which happened to me after my first visit ever to the oil. Shortly before the wedding, I was first time in my life in New York, shortly before the wedding. And after I came back, I had a dream about the Rebbe. In those times, I didn't found myself in Yiddishkeit because where I'm living, the next big Jewish community to us is Antwerp. Antwerp is a Hasidic city, called it the last shtetl of Europe. Chabad is there, but it's not as big as Satmar, as Bobov, as Pshevosk. You have a Rebbe, the Pshevosker Rebbe. So I like to hang around in different circles and have like a mix. I like Tikkun Klali from Rabbi Nachman. I like to get garlic from the Pshevosker Rebbe. I like being in Belz, learning with the people from Bobov. So I was in the oil, I came back and I had a dream. And in this dream, I was sitting outside the office from 770 and the door opened and the Rebbe said, Yitzchok Mendel, come in. And I'm thinking to myself, how he know my name? We never met. And he told me, I know your name from the letters you're sending to the oil. I went in and I was sitting over there. And the Rebbe told me, you should know, in Hasidus, you should have one derech, one way, and it's not a cholent, that you mix from here and you mix from there. And if you want, I can push you inside. And he touched me like this. Then somebody else came in. I moved to the side in order not to hear what they are talking. And I just remember how the Rebbe told him, if you tell somebody Mazel Tov, always say twice. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. That's what I heard in the dream. The person left, and the Rebbe was somehow concerned about what this person who just left. He opened a drawer from his desk, and he took out a mezuzah, and he placed the mezuzah by the wall. But he didn't place it by the door frame in the wall. And I said in the dream to the Rebbe, it reminds me of the story of Rabbi Akiva's daughter by the wedding where they killed the snake. And then I woke up. I felt like I won the lottery. I told this story to Rabbi Kunin, and he started to break down crying. For 15 minutes, he was crying. And he told me, I think you should take 2 weapons back to Germany. I want to give you a special mezuzah case, which is connected to the Rebbe's office, meaning that one day in the Rebbe's office, the window, how is this called? This white things there, window shields? Shades. The window blinds were changed. Rabbi Kunin likes this, and he took the old shades, and he cut it, and he placed it on mezuzah cases. And he gave it to Shluchim in California. And he still had one. He gave it to me, and he said, and you should have $1 of the Rebbe. He called his secretary, Moshe, I don't remember exactly, he said, Ruchi, whatever. Go to the safe, you know the way he speaks. Go to the safe and bring the first $1 which comes to your hand. 5 minutes later, he's coming downstairs to the shul. The door opens and he screams, what's the date? So he looked the date, and I think it was 1965, before the Rebbe started giving out dollars regularly. Rabbi Kunin took the $1 and said, this is a very historic, special $1, because this $1 I got from the Rebbe in Yechidus was the blessing for the first Chabad house in the world. Was this $1. Behashgacha pratit, it was the first one which came to his hand. It's yours. We all know people that have $25 at home from a regular Sunday. They would rather cut their finger before they give you one, especially if it's a dollar like this. When we got the $1, I can show you later a picture. My wife took a picture of me getting the $1 and holding the mezuzah case. I was so nervous because we were parking in the garage opposite the Chabad house. We had to pay for the parking, and I said, I don't near the machine with the $1, you know, make sure it was like I had to have a safe for it. This $1 changed my life, changed the community, and changed everything, because we came back with the mentality of Kishen Tuchis. You don't like it? I don't care if you don't like it. We break through all the klipot. Still, I forgot to say, before I left, Rabbi Kunin, he gave me like a bracha, and he hit me very, very strong over here, and it really hurt. My wife thought he broke me the arm.
Oh, now I know you're talking about the person I think you're talking about.
Yeah. He hit me so strong, and it's interesting. Every time I felt later a challenge in the community, I felt the arm. From this, I remembered the $1. So we came back and we started a huge campaign of Mifzoim. Krefeld has like a Jewish quarter. Many Jews live around our community. And I took a friend of mine who became also religious, and we went into a big high house, like it's like a Brighton Beach with a lot of Russian families, and we knocked every door, everyone, and we spoke to everyone, and we started to give out mezuzot and to put tefillin. We doubled the minyan, and we started to build a mikveh. And we had a lot of nisim building the mikveh and starting the whole community, and it all started from this. So let's make a first lechaim to understand that everybody needs to have a mashpiach. Everybody needs to have somebody who's giving him the courage, giving him the power. If you feel bad, if you feel broken, who will take you and lift you up. And second, how this all started, it all started by one shliach or one Chabadnik putting tefillin on a soldier on a German book about Israel. When this soldier and this shliach, more the soldier, when he goes to heaven in 120 years, they tell him, shkoyach for the mikveh you built. He said, what? Never built a mikveh. Shkoyach for thousands of tefillin, first time on Russian Jews. Shkoyach for so many people who did the circumcision. Said, I think you have the wrong file over here. I never did anything of this. One time for 2 minutes, you allowed the Chabadnik to put tefillin on yourself, and it inspired a Jew in Germany to become a shliach, like on the picture. So this is the power of us doing small things which are totally not small. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Ya 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 ma ya 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 la 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 la.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. From where? From Rome. That's much nicer than from Germany. Yeah, no, Rome is a nice place. Yeah. It's beautiful wedding by like a Amen, amen. Rabbi Tal is also family with Rabbi. He might have been there in Berlin. 99.
Hey ya, Like me, you also nice. Yeah, same with me.
Very good, amazing. L'chaim, l'chaim. Many people in the lectures always ask how it's like walking in Germany with a kippah on the head. Especially because not that long ago, there was a big discussion if Jews should wear a kippah in Germany or better hide it. When I came back from yeshiva, my parents asked me not to go with the kippah on the head. It's too dangerous. And you should have a baseball cap on top. I just learned in America that it can be dangerous if you have the wrong baseball cap as well. I had quite some time a baseball cap until I found a very known, beautiful Hasidic story which changed everything. It's the famous story of two Jews walking in the forest, like in every Hasidic story, they walk through the forest. And like in every good Hasidic story, suddenly it gets dark. And like in every Hasidic story, suddenly there is a hotel. So they come to the hotel, and for sure, he doesn't have room for Jews. But for the same price as the room, they can sleep under the table in the place where's the fire. So better than outside, they took it. So they were sleeping under the table, and in the night, the door breaks open, and Cossacks, anti-Semites are coming in, and they're sitting by the table where the two Jews are below, and they're drinking, and they're very depressed because there are no Jews they could, kill or kick. And then, as more as they drink, they start dancing. They're dancing around the table, and suddenly they noticed one of the two Jews, and they made a game. Every time somebody is passing by dancing, he's giving him a kick. So after a couple of rounds, one Jew tells to the other, you know what, let's change place so you can rest and I take some of the kicks. And while they did that, they found out that there are two Jews. They said, even though we're anti-Semites, we have to be fair. Let's kick the other one. So they kicked the first one again. What's the bigger meaning behind this story? It's very easy. If God forbid in Shamayim, there's a degree that you should be kicked, you will be kicked. And I read this story and I thought to myself, you know what? That's the way Hashem made the world. That's the way the world works. If you should be kicked, you will be kicked. With a Yankee or with the, what do you have in Pittsburgh?
Maga.
Maga, whatever.
The Trump hat.
Yeah, if you have a Trump hat or if you have a Hillary hat or whatever they're called, you will be hit or without. So I made a decision, that's it. Enough of the Yankees. And I went with the keeper. And I remember very, very well what happened on the first day. I was walking on the streets of Germany proudly with my keeper. I went to a store and I was looking for kosher products. People in America, they have a big problem. If you don't keep kosher and you've been 120 years, you come to Shamayim, you cannot claim, as in Germany, we didn't have any kosher products, because here even the water has even if it's a schwache Herrscher, but it has a Herrscher on everything. So in Germany, if you take a shop, same size as Walmart, and I check every product, I'm not sure if I get over 10 or 15 products with a Herrscher. So if you come to Europe or to Germany and you see somebody in the store and he takes out every product and he's making this movement, he's Jewish and he's looking for something kosher. And that's what I did. And suddenly I feel a hand on my back. I think, okay, now it's starting.
In trouble.
Now in trouble. So I turn around and I see a guy and he looks at me like I'm a ghost. I say, why? He said, you won't believe it. I said, what not believe it? He said, I'm a Russian Jew and I never got a circumcision. And I am fighting with myself if I should get a circumcision or not. And this morning I said, Borg, God, if you want me a circumcision, you have to send me a sign that I should get a circumcision. I'm going to the shop and I see somebody with a kippah, which in our town, since the times of Napoleon, you couldn't see somebody with a kippah. And then a little bit later, the guy got his circumcision, and this happened from the kippah on the head. I think it's very, very important to show to the outside being proud Jewish, because we have no idea we do so much mitzvahim by the way we look, but because we don't know who is seeing us. It can inspire somebody to go to shul just when they see the children walking with the kippah on the street. That's pretty amazing. So there are a lot of stories which happen by just people looking at us, and you start to talk to them, you get to know them, and they come to shul, and you can try to inspire them and to take everybody serious, not just the Jews, even the non-Jews. And this I learned on a very, very interesting way. Part of my job is, as the community rabbi of the community of Krefeld, to take non-Jewish groups from kindergarten, by the way, a German word, till police, fire department, politicians, on an hour and a half tour through the Jewish community. Speaking about the 7 laws of Noah, obviously, and speaking about the Holocaust, anti-Semitism. So one day I'm sitting in my office and I get a call. And the person on the other line, he tells me, Rabbi Wagner, it might sound very strange to you, but I am an undertaker. And I'm with my car on the way to crematoria. And I have a casket in the back. I have a red light. And I have the paper of the guy who died in an old age house on the seat next to me. And I check it out and it says the name is Shimon Cohen. My wife recently was in one of the tours through the Jewish community. And since the husband is an undertaker, she asked, what's the Jewish way of dealing with dead people? And she told me that in Judaism, there's nothing more bad than burning somebody. And Shimon Cohen sounds to me like a Jewish name, so perhaps he has a mistake. That's why I want to call up the rabbi. So I said, wow, for sure it's a mistake. Make a U-turn, put him back in the fridge, and let the community handle it. A day later, Shimon Cohen was buried on our cemetery with a tahara and with a talit. We found out later that he came to Germany after the war. He told nobody that he's Jewish, but he had this Jewish name. And since he had nobody to pay for it, the government is always looking for the cheapest way, which might be cremation. And we found out that he still had a sister in England. She was over 90 years old, and I got her on the phone. And from her, I understood that Shimon Cohen was a survivor of Auschwitz. You have a Jew, unbelievable, who survived Auschwitz, who died, and is 10 minutes away from crematoria in Germany, and Hashem made it that it stopped because a shliach took a goyish group serious to give a good answer about Judaism, not to say like, what do I need to tell them about how we deal with our dead people? This is a big, big mistake. We always have to care for everyone and speak truthfully to everyone. And in this case, it really, really helped somebody amazingly. Chaim l'chaim. Where's the chazan?
But we're fish, fish. Oh, now it's Farbrengen. Yeah. Your pants are dirty. Now it's Farbrengen. Jolly sleep. Hey, I gotta get back to work. Hey, Hey, Oh, hey, Hey, I did it. You're delayed, don't worry. My trunk is picking up a gun. Hey, And we're going to ask our local Ari pressman to say a couple of words, and then we'll go back to our regular program. Yes, so I just want to say a few words. But I know I was speaking tonight, learning the same yeshiva. You mentioned Mayanot. I learned in the Russian side, learned in the American. They have a German side.
Der hat mich jetzt.
Tear down that wall. So he's married. His wife is Russian.
Ukrainian.
Oh,
makes a difference.
No, actually, the passport says Ivrei.
Ivrei, yeah. Ivrei kam.
Ivrei. So I tell you something interesting. I was speaking about the Jews in Germany. My relation. So
what's his name?
Our family, when we was in Russia, we have an opportunity to go to Germany long ago. Because my father, he was a big engineer in a big textile factory, and we used to go to Germany. He knew German because he knew Yiddish, he spoke Germany, and we sent him as a representative. So he went to Munich and other places, and he has a opportunity, and he told him that you can come here and you can be an engineer, already ready work and everything. But my father said, no, the Jews would never go back to Germany. But on my cousins, I have on my father's side, cousins, their last name is Friedman. And they actually have a big family. They have 5 brothers. And 4 of the brothers went to Germany. It happened to be. And one of the brothers lives here in Cleveland. And all of the brothers, all the Friedman brothers, so all of the brothers, the Friedman brothers that live now in Germany, they went there already married with families. And they all had also boys. Like that's kind of like they have family boys. But not so many, like each one had 1, 2 boys. And all the boys, the young boys like my age, they all married shiksas, the Germans. The German shiksas. And basically they have now kids. Their all last name is Friedman. But all they all going. And they all married original German. That's what my father always says, you see, I saved the family. We have that could go straight to Germany, have the best work over there and everything. But Baruch Hashem, we went to Israel and everything. So that's just that's your story of Germany.
When you deal with Russian Jews, you have a 70-year-old Russian Jew, and he knows less about who he is, less about Judaism than a 7-year-old German non-Jewish child who learned about Judaism in German school because that's what they do. So the Rebbe understood when the wall fell, 89, to send shluchim all over Germany and to start a revolution and to help those Jews find themselves. I always call it you find yourself. It's not you finding something, you find who you really are. One of the things we work with is circumcision. Nearly no Jew born in Russia or Ukraine got a circumcision, obviously. And I have one nice story. There's a guy called Moldavansky, good friend of mine, Leonid. Leonid Moldavansky was never in a synagogue all his life. 52 years old when the story happened. And then his mother passed away, and I made the funeral. And after the funeral, I said, Leonid, you have to give honor to the dusha, the soul of your mother. Come and say Kaddish. So he came for the first time in his life to our shul, said the Kaddish, and you could see, wow, he loved it. He loved everything. It was like a sponge, dry, you put into water. He was learning so much. A couple of months later, he comes to me and says, Rabbi, I want to talk to you. I hate that everybody gets called up with a Jewish name, and I get called up, Yamod Leonid Ben Boris. I want to have a Jewish name as well. So I told him, that's great, but the Jewish name comes together with the Brizania. So he said, Oi. Then I told him, he told me, Rabbi, give me a week to think about. A week later, he came and he said, Rabbi, I have to tell you a secret. I am afraid of the dentist. I'm afraid of needles. I can't see blood. But I want to have a Jewish name so much. Please make an appointment with the Moel in Antwerp. I won't suffer through to get my Jewish name. So I said, Leonid, we are going to do it. But first, something very, very important, and no shliach should ever make a mistake in this field. Don't be offended, but first we have to make sure you're Jewish. Because many, as you probably know, many people came out from Russia who are not halachically Jewish. And we have to check out if they're Jewish, which nowadays is even more difficult because of the situation in Ukraine. And Baruch Hashem, my wife is in the forefront of finding people and catching people who are halakhically not Jewish or even Photoshop the word Yevrei. We had such a case. We had one case, amazing, a young woman.
Because they're desperate to get out of there.
Because they have they get some help more. We had a young woman came with her baby, married to a German. And she came and said she's Jewish and she wants to be part of the Jewish community. So we asked for birth certification. Her birth certification, Yevreika. Her mother, Yevreika. Babushka, grandmother, Yevreika. Amazing, I said. And she was a baby. And she said, and I want the shiurim. I want to come to the shiurim. And the baby didn't get the bris. I want to make a bris. And I was like, oh, it's amazing. There's so much to work. My wife told me later, Jewish mothers don't want to give a bris to their babies. It's very easy. A goy doesn't have the Yetzer Hara. If you would stand on the street in Germany and ask, God forbid, goyim to put on tefillin, they would stand in line. A Jew, tefillin, no time, blah, 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 blah. So she said something is fishy. I can't tell you, but it's not normal. She wants to have shiurim. She wants to give a bris. She wants to have a Jewish name. Something is not correct. So we checked out very strongly with the shluchim in Ukraine. They looked the real book over there, and they found out she was like born in Odessa and registered in Kiev a day later. And this was very suspicious. And we found out that her mother was adopted. And she adopted from non-Jewish children, and they put her as Jewish in the thing. And she didn't know about it. And the mother also didn't know about it, knew about it. So for us, it was very difficult. The Beis Din told her, you cannot just tell her she gets a heart attack. Yeah, you have to help her find the truth herself. So we told her, if you want to become a member of the community, we need this and this letter. Please go to the office. And like this, she found out herself. So I said, Leonid, please understand. First, we must make sure that you are a Jew. Baruch Hashem, kosher, Jewish. So we made the appointment in Antwerp for his big day, making the circumcision. Driving 2 hours to Antwerp from Krefeld, we're next to the border, and he is sitting in my car, shaking, very, very nervous. And when we came and he saw the Satmara Chosid, who was the Moel, was the payas and the long beard, and he didn't look like a professor or doctor, what he was thinking about, didn't really calm him down. And when they told him that he's also the butcher of Antwerp, they didn't like it. He didn't like it either. But now we were there, and I was there with my friend, who by now, Baruch Hashem, is the president of our community. And the Moel took him up to the first floor. There's a special apartment, like a clinic, and he's doing the circumcision. And I tell to my friend, you know what? He's so nervous. Let's take Tehillim and pray that Hashem should bless him without any problems. We start saying Tehillim. 10 minutes later, the Moel comes down the stairs and he's crying. I go, oh, he killed him. So I asked him, what happened? He said, not now. I have to bring a second Moel. Oh, bleeding. He can't stop the bleeding. The board will kill me. Poor Leonid. We said to him, I wish I had such a kavanah on Yom Kippur. Second Moel comes. He runs up the stairs. 20 minutes, 10 minutes later, the second Moel comes down, tears in the eyes. First Moel comes down crying. And then Baruch Hashem, Moldavanski came and he was smiling. So I asked, what's going on? And the Moel said, before I tell you, sit down, vodka. First we make a l'chaim. Okay, we make a l'chaim and he's starting to tell the story. I was ready to do the circumcision and I look and I go like, Mr. Moldavanski, that's a joke. I said, what do you mean it's a joke? My friend, you're circumcised already. So he said, no, I'm not. So I said, you tell me. I tell you you're circumcised. I said, no, I'm not. I tell you more, Mr. Moldavanski. This circumcision is a Jewish circumcision, and I can see it's not done by a Goyish doctor, because sometimes babies are born, the foreskin is too tight, you have to cut it. It's called phimosa. It's not a phimosa. This is a real kosher circumcision. So they started to fight, and he claimed he never got the circumcision. So he started to understand also. So he said, I have a neighbor. He's also Moel. Let's ask him. Second Moel came up. What's this? Circumcision, phimosa, no circumcision. He said, you can bring the Korban Pesach. It's totally kosher. So now I didn't get the circumcision. Mr. Moldavanski, you have two professionals. Why you want to persuade us you don't have a circumcision? He said, very easy. Because in the city of Dnipropetrovsk, my father was a big communist. And my father really didn't like Judaism very much. I would say he even hated Judaism, hated that he is a Jew. We had nothing to do with Judaism. We not even had matzah next to the bread on Pesach, because most Jews, they had nothing but, correct, matzah was holy for them. We even the matzah we didn't have. No Yom Kippur, no Chanukah, nothing. We didn't tell people we're Jewish. We had nothing to do with this. It's impossible that he made me a circumcision. So what made the Moalim cry? Because they understood what's called in Yiddish a pinteliyid. You can be a big communist, self-hating Jew. But if you have your little newborn Jewish baby in your arm, and you have a connection somehow to make a secret circumcision, he organized such a secret circumcision that it took the child himself 52 years to find out that he's circumcised. That's the power of the Jew. L'chaim, l'chaim.
I'd just like to say a few words. Obviously, we all know that we're here because of the upcoming day, special day, holy day of Gimmel Tammuz. Gimmel Tammuz is obviously an opportunity. We have a special speaker that we brought all the way from Germany to share with us some of his inspiring opportunities that he's had as a shliach in the other side of the world. I can tell you, I'm actually coming now also from the other side of the world. I've just arrived from Rome, and being there, I participated in a wedding, a Russian wedding, a wedding of Rabbi Lazar's son, and he made it in Rome because his parents live in Rome, and it's difficult for them to travel. So the person is from Moscow, the Kala is from Montreal, and the wedding was in Rome.
Between Rome and Germany, we're doing heavy Berurim.
Not yet. So this is my point. My point is that what you see here, the koiches of the Rebbe, if just to think about, I mean, the wedding actually took place in a castle, in an old castle in Rome. Talking about the concept of Birurim, I don't know if anybody was ever there. I think it's certainly the first Jewish wedding that took place over there, but I don't know how many people were ever there in the past making brachas, learning Torah, and being mevared Birurim and refining those sparks of godliness that are found in that particular castle. It said there was actually a disagreement. Somebody said that this particular castle belonged to the Pope. It was his castle where he went when he left the Vatican. He would go here, and there was actually a tunnel from the Vatican that he was able to get to this castle. Whatever. But again, the point being that we take the lowest things that exist in the world, when we talk about the lowest things in terms of the impurities that exist in this world. And the idea of it is for us as Jews to be able to, that's the whole purpose of creation. The whole purpose of creation, the whole purpose of Matan Torah is to bring down godliness into this physical, mundane world, whether it's in Germany, whether it's a castle in Rome, whether it's in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It is our job that we have to reach out to every single part of the world and prepare it for the coming of Mashiach. That's what it's all about. We have to be mevarer, we have to refine every part of the world. And if we think about a Gimmel Tammuz and we think about our hiskashrus, our connection to the Rebbe, what does it mean, our connection to the Rebbe? So our connection to the Rebbe told us what it means. The Rebbe told us what he wants of us, what it takes for us to connect with him. And the Rebbe told it to us from different perspectives. First and foremost, the Rebbe told us that we have to recognize who we are and what we are. We have to recognize the specialty of every Yid. We have to recognize the koiches that each one of us was given, the koiches that each one of us have, and a person has to we have to recognize that the koiches that we were given, the strengths that we were given, we can turn over the world. So if we say to ourselves, what can I do in Germany? What can I do in Pittsburgh? What can I do in Moscow? Each one of us know, and you take a look at a person that's here, he's telling us stories of what happened in Germany, how he transformed a community. And you might say, you know, he's a bracha that came to Israel to learn in Mayonot, and you know they whatever he learned, and he thinks to himself, what do I know already? How much do I know here? I didn't know anything before, and I'll learn a little bit, and then I'll go back and do what I can. But here you see, if a person thinks to himself, look, I'm here, and I'm becoming connected with the Rebbe. And he told us this beautiful story that he said about what the dream that he had, and the iskashrus the connection that he has. Here we see the way what the Rebbe is telling us is, no matter who you are, if you want to connect with me, I'm connected with you. And not only if you want to connect with me, even if you don't want to connect with me, I'll make sure to find somebody to send them out to you to become connected with me. And that's the other piece of it, where we see throughout the years the way the Rebbe sent out shluchim all over the world, to every corner of the world, to find another Jew. I mean, there are so many stories. I mean, stories over and over where you see the Rebbe's thought about an individual. I mean, what comes to my mind particularly now is the story, and everybody knows that. I'm sure you've heard it many times, when Begin, Prime Minister Begin, came to the Rebbe. He came many times, came several times. But when he came to the Rebbe, at one point, when he came to the Rebbe told him, after discussing, everything that goes on in Israel and what Begin should do and could do on behalf of Klal Yisrael, talking about Klal Yisrael, Eretz Yisrael. Then the Rebbe says to him, before he's about to leave, I have to ask you for a special favor. What's the special favor? He said, when you go back to Eretz Yisrael, I want you to make a stopover in France. The Rebbe tells him he wants them to stop over in France. The Rebbe is asking Begin, the prime minister, that on his way back to Eretz Yisrael, he should stop over in France. And the Rebbe tells him, why do I want you to stop over in France? So you have to recognize now, you're talking about the prime minister, who obviously doesn't travel by himself. And if he travels with everybody, and he's going to stop over in France. He's not going to make a little stop just by himself on and off the plane. It's going to take a whole lot. And the Rebbe says, if there's going to be any extra expenses, I want to pay for it. That's what the Rebbe tells him. Any expenses, I'm going to pay for it. And why do I want you to stop? So the Rebbe says, I'll tell you why I want you to stop. Somebody wrote to me about a particular girl that's engaged to get married to a non-Jew. And the Rebbe says to him, I know that you speak French. And I know that if you, as the prime minister of Israel, is going to come to her and you're going to talk to her how important it is for her not to get married to a non-Jew, you'll certainly be able to have an effect on her. So at the same time, so you have to think about this. At the same time that the Rebbe is thinking about what? The Rebbe is sitting in the office talking to the prime minister and talking about he's talking about Klal Yisrael, he's talking about Eretz HaKodesh, about and everybody knows what went on during the times of Begin, the way, things are tough now, things were just as tough then and maybe even more. But a lot of things were going on, and the Rebbe was talking to him about it all. And at the same time, the Rebbe says, by the way, there's this girl that's getting married to engage to a guy. I want you to do something about making sure that this marriage shouldn't happen. And Begin says, sure, if you want me to do it, or if I can do something for the Rebbe, for sure. And he went, and what actually happened is he went and he spoke to her and he convinced her to let go of the guy. But the point of it is that what the Rebbe has taught us from this and from so many other stories like this is that just as we need to be thinking about the entire community of Germany and what needs to be done about them, so too, if there's one person that needs a bris, or we think he needs a bris, but whatever it is and how it is that we're going to affect them, and sometimes we don't even know that we're going to affect them. Just the fact, as we heard earlier, we're going to walk around the street with a yarmulke. We're going to walk around the streets and we're going to make a Kiddush Hashem, and people will look at us and they're going to say to themselves, I remember my Bobbe, my Zayda, the Rebbe tells the famous story, the way a shliach that went during the months of the summer, the shluchim that would always go out to the Bochrim, would go out to Merker shluchim. They would go traveling in different communities and all over the country. Today they go all over the world. When I was a Bocher, we went throughout the country. If we traveled to Arizona, to Colorado, or to wherever it was, but then we would write into the Rebbe a whole duch, write down a report of what happened and where we went. So there was one particular Bocher that wrote into the Rebbe and wrote to the Rebbe that, I went for 2-3 weeks to a particular community. And unfortunately, I'm very upset that I can't report to the Rebbe that I accomplished anything there. And I feel terrible about it. I spent 2-3 weeks there and I didn't accomplish anything. So the Rebbe said, you didn't accomplish anything? Let me tell you what you accomplished. And the Rebbe says to him that he got a letter from somebody who was in this community that you were there, and they write to me that I want you to know, Rabbi Schneerson, how grateful I am that you send Bochrim out to our communities, because I was by the window and just watching and seeing a Bocher walking around with his tzitzis out and with his jamelkan and looking like a Jew. And I reminded myself of my Zayda, of my Boba, and it inspired me, and it led me to start thinking about who I am and what I am. So the Rebbe wanted to show this person who thought he hadn't accomplished anything, look what I've accomplished. So if you think about, when we talk about a day as we prepare ourselves for Gimmel Tammuz, what do we need to do as we prepare ourselves for Gimmel Tammuz? It's nice to have a Farbrengen, and Yitzchok Hashem, many of us will go to the oil, certainly write opinion to the Rebbe for Gimmel Tammuz. But the key is hiskashrus, and hiskashrus means connecting to the Rebbe, means connecting to the kinds of things that the Rebbe wants us to do. So the Rebbe has encouraged us and told us that first and foremost we have to learn Torah, limud Torah. Sit down and learn sichos, learn maimorim, learn chassidus. That's each and every one of us do it, but at the same time, particularly as we prepare ourselves for Gimmel Tammuz, it's a time that we have to think about, particularly 30 years. Shleishim Shana, Vayihi Shleishim Shana, it's a very special number, 30 years. And when we talk about a time like this, we have to think, so what are we doing to connecting ourselves in a stronger way with the Rebbe? To become more mekusha with the Rebbe, to become better connected with the Rebbe. And when we are better connected with the Rebbe, it's not just that we're doing something for the Rebbe, we're doing something for ourselves. Because when we're better connected, we can become more inspired. Our davening is different, our learning is different, our day is a different day. A person that's connected with the Rebbe and is continuously being inspired from the Rebbe, by the Rebbe, because we're connected with the Rebbe, so that enables us to live our lives in a whole different way, thinking about what can I do? What can I do now? What can I do in the next minute? And even if I have to take a rest, I take a rest. For what reason? So that after my rest, I can do more, and I can do more, as opposed to a person that lives his life and says to himself, I'm living 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, whatever it happens to be, but it's boring. What am I doing? What's my life? I'm doing the same thing today that I did yesterday, the day before, the day before. We have to be able to recognize that there's so much that we need to accomplish in learning. It's clearly the case. As much as we learn, whether it's one maimer, a second maimer, another sicha, there's so much that we can be doing. And if we set ourselves up with a schedule to actually do those kinds of things on a regular basis, and if we don't have it, maybe this is a time to commit ourselves to do something like that. Or we commit ourselves that every day we're going to spend 10 minutes learning a maimer, 10 minutes learning a sicha, certainly chitas, certainly Rambam, and those kinds of things. So we're connecting to the Rebbe, and when we connect with the Rebbe, that connection enables us to be inspired, so our lives can be lived like Sidim, like people that are connected with the Rebbe. And when a person is connected to the Rebbe, a person is connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu inspired Klal Yisrael. And he inspired them to the point where, and the Rebbe talks about that even Korach, on the one hand, we talk about Korach, that he was fighting a war. But what did Korach want? He wanted to be like Moshe Rabbeinu. He wanted to be like Aaron HaKohen. He figured it's worth everything as long as I can be like them. So on the one hand, the Torah talks about it and tells us, and the Rebbe asks, why does the Torah tells us so much about Korach? He fought a war against Moshe Rabbeinu. But the Rebbe explains, the Torah wants to share with us that even somebody like Korach was ready to do whatever it takes in order for him to do the kinds of things that Aaron HaKohen did, which is go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He knew going into the Kodesh HaKadoshim might kill him. Doesn't matter. I want to have that opportunity. I want to be connected. So there's a tremendous plus in that, in recognizing that we have to aspire to become higher and higher and higher. And the way we become higher is by doing the kinds of things that the Rebbe wants of us, with learning, with Ma'asim Tovim. And as the Rebbe always says, HaMa'aseh hu ha'ikar, to actually affect another Yid, do a favor for another Yid, smile at another Yid, and make sure that we all, in one way or another, recognize that we have to connect to the Moshe Rabbeinu, to the Moshe Rabbeinu Shebechol Deir V'Deir, and with that, we will all be able to help prepare the world, as the Rebbe taught us what we need to do to prepare the world, to refine the world, to prepare each and every one of us for the coming of Mashiach Tzidkeinu b'meiri b'yameinu. L'chaim, l'chaim. Oh, we should. You want to break everything up? It is. Oh, that's what I'm calling Farbrengen. So tell them no. Rabbi Zeitz, listen. Yossi said he's just going to the bathroom. He put on the gospel for the bathroom. He told you no. That's what he said. You said we're going to have Maidim soon? We should make Maidim and then sit down again. Okay. Is there? Last time, I guess we continue. Yeah, otherwise, Mendel, announce.
In here, that way we don't have to stop the Farbrengen, because we're going to do Maidim, and then we'll continue immediately after Maidim. We'll continue
So we don't have to go out. Somebody call Rabbi Zeitz. Yeah.
Kala Miskala Shmei Rabba Yama Grachilusa Yamakusa Yasma Kala Mikala Mishri Aye Khanim Medim Khaid Kal Besi Sarava Galos Makarim Ruame Misa Sevi Sadar Bisala Bisala Shmei Kuchabricho Elam Kabakasa Bishirasa Mikasa Nakamasa Mimi Yama Ruame Skabel Sois and Wilson Kabak Sarah which my Ruame Shmam Rabbi Min Shmai Kandelin Makal Israel Ruame Jonathan Remo, yes, Jean Malin, Waka Israel, Namar, Oyal, Bakalares,
Kadash, Rabba, Yosef, Sigma, Koteva, Masakari, Express, Tai, Forge, Yom, the faithful, with it, Bagala, with my Daram Yavi Salash, Kushra, Brigo, Nela, Mikobita, Tushkata, Nikita, and Muhammad, Ruame, Islam, Rada, Malay, Vekol Shalom, Bimrama, Shalom, Malay, Vekol Israel,
Amen. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ay, ay, ay,
Very clever. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. Very, very clever. Wow.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I have a picture here I can show you. The story. This is the story with the mezuzah and the dollar.
That's in the shoe.
Yeah, that's in the show. Hashem.
Oh, yeah, that's the dollar.
Dollar from the story.
Hey, yeah, 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 did it, hey, yeah. He's also just a guy, but the Rebbe made something just a guy.
Yeah.
But the Rebbe made us more than a guy. But but people don't understand this. Because he's on a different. No, I grew up with a very little kid.
He's on a different level. Would give
This is dollar. This is dollar. No, but that's it.
This is the dollar for the first Chabad.
Means the Rebbe wants you to have.
Yeah, you see?
This is the dollar the Rebbe wants you to have. No. See, that's the beautiful thing about it. But yeah, a lot of people get English. See, when I was a little kid, I know I was a very little kid. Yeah. So this is in my brain. So we need to all be like this. So we eat it ever. We breathe.
Yeah,
and we sleep it ever.
Yes.
There's no, The time of
People are still traveling in the other rooms. That's the oil now, or people are still coming back? I mean, is there Mari in the other room?
It's not pretty good. And so you make l'chaim and keep everything.
I have. It's for Sim.
Fine.
L'chaim.
Fine.
One day, I'm sitting in my office. My phone rings. On the other line, a person goes like this. Rabbi Wagner. I say, yes. I need to talk to you immediately. Was not good. I said, may I ask you if you're Jewish? I said, no, but I need to speak to a rabbi. May I ask you why, when you're not Jewish, you need to speak to a rabbi? I need to speak to a rabbi immediately because my son is forcing me to convert to Judaism and I don't want. Please come and talk to us and help us out. I said, this sounds like a nice story. Where you live? 5 minutes walk from my office. 10 minutes later, I'm sitting in his living room. He's sitting there and his wife and me. And he starts to tell the story. And the story goes like this. He was born in Germany by a Jewish mother. And in the times of the Shoah, they sent him on Kindertransport to England. His parents were killed in Auschwitz. In England, it wasn't a Jewish family who took him. It was the English church. And the English church baptized him. And they gave him a beautiful education and they cared about everything.
A lot of kids. So Winton, what's it called?
Yep, that's the story. That's the story. He made a PhD. He became a doctor for the weather, a very difficult word in English, meteorology.
Meteorologist.
After the drink,
word in German?
meteorology.
Same thing.
Yeah, but more different. So he became a doctor. He went back to Germany and he married a German woman, a doctor for children. Okay. They get 2 children, a girl and a boy. Boy's name is Ludwig. One day, Ludwig is growing up, like, I don't know, 14, 15. And he's asking a question about the family name, which is not a typical German name. The family name is Yaffe. So he asked his father, what's the story of our family name? He said, you should know, I was born by Jewish parents. That's why Yaffe. But now I'm not Jewish anymore. I got converted to Christianity, like the whole family. But that's the start. So he said, Ludwig asked him, do you remember anything from this Jewish part of your youth? He said, nothing besides one thing. My father always told me to be very proud because we are descendants, father to son, from a very, very holy rabbi. His name was Mordechai Yaffe. By the way, he was the Levush, if you know. And that's all I know about it. So Ludwig said, wow, we have somebody famous in the family, the Levush. What is he famous for? Father said, I don't know. I think he wrote books. Amazing. I want to read the books. So unfortunately, the Levush didn't write anything in German. Everything is in Hebrew.
Not so much.
Not so much. So he couldn't. So he said, if it's in Hebrew, I want to read Hebrew. It's part of my family. So he started to learn Aleph, Bet, Gimmel, Dalet. And by learning Hebrew, he became more and more involved with Judaism. And one day he's reading about a book about Judaism, the definition of who is a Jew. And what it says, if your mother's Jewish, you're Jewish. So he goes like, oh, he went to his father and he told him, Papa, you're not Christian, you're a Jew. So he said, no, I'm not. And he said, and from then on, he's driving me mishuggah. And it became more and more a problem in our family. And why I have to call now a rabbi? He said, I give you two examples. Summertime, it's hot. I wanted to drink water. I filled my cup, and suddenly my son came and he stopped me. And he put something on my head and he said, say, Baruch Atah. I didn't want this. And then the worst thing happened. For 4 years, I'm waiting for the soccer World Cup, the holy of the holiest. It's Friday night. I'm sitting with my beer. I'm ready for the game. And you know what happened? I couldn't find the remote control because my son took it away. He doesn't want me to change channels on Shabbat. It's enough. He has no right to force me to become a Jew. Correct or not? So now it was my turn to speak. So I told him, Dr. Yaffe, you are correct. He has no right to force you to become Jewish. And I see two faces go like, ah.
The rabbi said.
The rabbi said. And then I told him, he can't because you are a Jew. And I see two faces go down. Dr. Yaffe was very, very German, very polite. And Baruch Hashem, inspired by Rabbi Kaplan, he has this very, very small tefillin that's just amazing for Mitzvot. They fit into a package, a bag that small. I got this small bag. You can always have it with you wherever you go because you never know whom you're meeting. So I had in my tefillin and I said, let's put the tefillin. He didn't want to put the tefillin, but I'm German, on the other hand, also Chabad. So I have my polite way to get him put on tefillin. A little bit later, I got a complaint from his daughter to our community board that I forced him a bar mitzvah against his will. Anyway, from this moment on, Dr. Yaffe couldn't sleep anymore until he would get Rabbi Wagner to tell him that he's not Jewish. So once in a while, he was calling me up to discuss it with me, and it came so bad that I bought him the book, Ugly Duckly, it's called. You know this book? It's about a book about a goose egg which got mixed.
The ugly duckling. The swan. The swan. When they're little, they look very ugly.
Right. So I told him, you are not a duck, you're a swan. That's your life story, this book. One day, he became very, very sick, and he fell into a coma. I was called to the hospital. And Mamish, when I came to the hospital, his son Ludwig, he took the opportunity to put tefillin on his father. And the doctor was looking at the monitor, at the screen, and he said to Ludwig, I don't know what you're doing to your father, but I see he doesn't like it. So in the end, unfortunately, Dr. Yaffe passed away, and his last will was to be buried on the Goyish cemetery with a big cross on top. Wow. But what did Ludwig do? I hope it's not recorded.
It's recorded.
Okay,
nobody knows it was Ludwig. So
I would call it, he broke in the funeral home. He didn't.
Wait, by the way, Ludwig is even his mother is Jewish.
He's not. He's not Jewish. Just the father. He knew. He broke into the funeral home. He didn't steal the body, Baruch Hashem. And what we Baruch Hashem? I mean, he didn't steal the body. He took tzitzis. He uncovered his father's shirt. He put tzitzis on him. He hid the tzitzis in the trousers. So if the mother would see it, they wouldn't take it away, because he said, I can't have my father be buried on a Goyish cemetery, and nothing Jewish is there was buried in the tzitzis on this cemetery. Later, Ludwig made a conversion in the esteemed London based in. He has now, I think by now, like 4 children. One child is called Mordechai, like the Mordechai Yaffe de Levush. And just a very, very beautiful story that sometimes holiness doesn't get lost. He married a shiksa, took many, many generations, but he got a grandchild who came back. He's now with a beard, the kippah, with the tzitzit. He's a typical Jewish person.
Did he take on a Jewish name?
Yeah, he took on a Jewish name. Every child, he has a very special character, like all the Yaffes are a special character. So every child has 5 names. You ever heard about somebody having 5 names?
Yes.
So I asked him why 5 names, and his answer was because German law doesn't allow 6.
I had one of the it actually presented an issue just fit. Is Yehuda man. He was on the Tanoim because he was Shui's Shemer, right? And then on the Tanoim, just now my son got married last week. In Los Angeles, so Yehuda man was Kefluish in New York, names. And he was one of it might be more. It's what is it? Yehuda Leib Simche something. I think it might be 6 or 7 names.
Wow.
And so on the Tanoim, luckily there's a line. He wrote it small, and it actually all fit barely. But his name fit on the start Tanoim.
So if you have 4 children and each child has 5 names, you know how much time it takes to give him a Mishaberach by the Torah.
Yeah, but it's not such a good thing, because Leo told me the longer your name is, the more it costs you also. So.
Yeah. So anyway, I met Ludwig not that long ago, and he told me the story is not over, because once my mother will pass away, it's 120 years, I have the right about the body, and then we're going to dig him out.
And
then we will have him B'ezrat Hashem on our kosher Jewish cemetery in Krefeld. So Hashem should bless us that the time should come that we bring all the children back. You know how many Jews, unfortunately, are buried on Goyish cemeteries?
Wait, if we're going to bring them back already, let's bring them back out of the ground.
Let's bring them back in the Gush
L'chaim. I know one story about a German. He was a social worker. I had an office in Manhattan, up on the 7th floor level. Security guard pulled him up. The company here wants to talk to a rabbi. Talk to him. Not really a rabbi, but let's set him up. In comes this ramrod, straight Prussian officer. He says, "Ich bin a Judah. I'm a Judah. I found out my father is a Judah." What does he want? He wants the outside. The outside. I could see it today. I know that the English state, they could not figure out each year how to.
Yeah, different.
I had one of these 150-year calendars. I asked him how old he was. He was in his 80s, 84. I wrote down English date for all of his mother's Yosef, whatever the Yosef was, until he'd be 120.
Wow.
I told him, when you finish this, come back and give me a book. He says, Jawohl.
Jawohl.
Hey, yeah. No, Moshe 770. Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah, mama. Ah, yeah, 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 mama. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Ah, yeah, mama. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, 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 ah, yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah, 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 ah, yeah, 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 ah, yeah, 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 ah, yeah, 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 ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Da da da, ma ya ya ya, ma ya ya ya, ma 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 ma. Da 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 da, ma ya ya. Da 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 da, da 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 da, da da da. Oh, you know, oh, you know,
That
look
that
what
niggin,
we were able to find.
that niggin was dedicated to all the goyim who were buried in Jewish cemeteries.
Unfortunately, that's also the case.
No, I meant what I said.
L'chaim, l'chaim. In Germany, I deal a little bit with kashrut. And one day, I'm getting a call from a company near Frankfurt, and the company is producing coating for pills, the colors, and they need hashgacha. So I'm driving 3 hours to the company near Frankfurt. I'm coming to the parking lot over there, and I see already that somebody in a very, very expensive, good-looking suit is seemingly quite nervous waiting for me. I park the car, and he's coming to my car, And from 5 meters, I see, wow, this guy must be Jewish.
About 15 feet, by the way, for you Americans.
15 feet. I see this guy is Jewish. I'm introducing myself. He's the owner of the company. It's interesting that he's waiting for me by the parking lot. And we're on the way to his office. I do the talking, like small talk, and I get suddenly the feeling the guy's nuts because I'm talking and he doesn't speak to me. He just looks at me like a ghost. I pretend everything is normal. We come to his office. In the middle of one of my sentences, he stands up. He went to the window and he closed the window shields. I go like, okay. Then he went to the door and he locked the door. And then he went to his desk and he opened the drawer. And I went like, Hashamnu Bagat, Shema Israel. Baruch Hashem, he didn't take out a gun. He took out a computer, a notebook. He opened the notebook, turned it around, and showed me a picture on the computer. What I see on the picture, I see him with his daughter in Manhattan, holding Arba Minim with 2 bochim. So I tell him, as if I didn't knew before, oh, you're Jewish. He whispered, yes, nobody in the company knows about it. And he said, but now I have the first time in my life the opportunity to speak to a rabbi. And I have the feeling that God is playing games with me. Why God is playing games with you? Every place I'm going, the people ask me if I'm Jewish. He said it's not so funny because for business I had to go to Jordan and I had a meeting with the sheikh over there. And when he saw me, he started to scream, ah, Israeli, I don't sign the contract. So he said, no, I'm not Israeli, I'm not Jewish, I'm nothing. And he told me, Rabbi, please understand, I'm so far away from my Judaism. I made sure to marry a German woman, and I even took her last name as my last name, so I could get rid of my last name to hide my Judaism. That's how far away I am. And then he said, I didn't want to, but for business I had to go the first time to Israel. And I was in Tel Aviv, and I went to the restrooms. And when I came back, suddenly somebody grabbed me, and he said, put this on your head, you're number 10. So I said, why? Just say amen. Why they all, Hashem is hunting me. Why they all think I'm Jewish? How they all see? So I told him, listen, you shouldn't run away from who you are. You should learn who you are. You should embrace who you are. Tell me, have you ever been to the beautiful old synagogue in Frankfurt am Main? He said, never. So I said, you know what? Let's finish the hashgacha over here. And today I take you and we both go together and see the synagogue in Frankfurt. In those times, Chabad had the yeshiva in the shul of Frankfurt. Today they have their own building. In those times it was in the shul. So Baruch Hashem, a bocher was learning when we came in, and he smelled right away. There's somebody who never had tefillin. So he put tefillin for the first time. And he started to cry like a baby. Shluchim know that when you put tefillin with somebody for the first time, it can happen that they start crying. But 20 minutes later, everything is back to normal and gaman. So I told him, do me a favor. This is the telephone number of the shliach, was Rabbi Havlin. Give him a call. Learn with him. Be in contact. Don't let this tefillin be the last time you did it. And that's how we parted. I forget about the story. But next year, hashgacha, I have to make another appointment to the company. So I'm making the appointment via telephone. And I feel a little bit afraid to ask him if he ever went back to the synagogue. But I was curious, so I asked, you ever went back? And he said to me, Oy vey. So I understood he went. Yeah. He said, why oy vey? He said, every morning, slichus so early. Wow, you go to Slichus. Said, what? Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is coming up. What should I do in the morning? Said, wow, that's amazing. So you met the shliach. He said, yeah, sure. We learn not once, twice a week we have shiurim. Wow, that's so cool. And then he told me, I want to tell you what's the nicest thing which happened to me in the last year. For business, I had to go to New York. And I went with my German wife. And the shliach told me, when you land in John F. Kennedy, before you do your business, go to the oil Shabbat Lubavitch. That's the way he pronounced it, Shabbat Lubavitch. Go to Shabbat Lubavitch and make a little prayer over there. So I went with my wife. We came to the oil. And over there is this tent. And I sit down and I write my note. And I tell to my wife, I think you should wait here. It's something Jewish. I should do it by myself. I go into the oil myself. And he was on the way to the door. We all know the famous door when you go outside. And suddenly somebody stopped him. And I really believe this is a story of Eliyahu Navi. He stopped him and he told him, why don't you take her? He said, because she's not Jewish, and I think I should do this alone. I'm Jewish. He said, I think it doesn't matter. She should go also. You want to come? She said, yeah. They both went into the oil. 20 minutes later, they come back to the tent out of the oil. She looks at him and she tells him, I want to tell you something. In the oil for 20 minutes, I was very, very much thinking. And I want to tell you that what happened to our family in the last year is just amazing. What Shabbat is doing to our family, that we talk to each other, how our family became nicer, that food is making much more sense than before, the Jewish community, I can't stand that half of the house, that's how she said it, half of the house is Jewish, the other half is not Jewish, and I want to sit and learn and make a kosher conversion, become Jewish as well. When he told me the story, he was crying because he said he understood to push somebody to do a conversion is never good. It has to come out from the person himself. And he would never ever push her, but it was her thing. And he was very, very happy about it. That's how we parted. Next year, I have to make the next visit to the company. And he tells me, Rabbi, great news. We are moving to Washington, D.C., because we figured out it's better to build a company in America to serve the American market than to produce in Europe and send it to America. And in about 2 weeks, I'm going with my wife to Washington, and he's very rich. We're going to buy a house next to the company. Rabbi, do me a favor. What's the next Chabad to the place where we have the company? So he gives me the address. I go Chabad.org, and I find the next shliach to this address. Don't remember where. So he has the address. 2 weeks later, he and his German wife, they're on the way. And they're searching for the synagogue from Chabad. And they can't find it. Why they can't find it? Because the only synagogue they both know is the huge, I don't know, 100, 250 years old synagogue in Frankfurt. And they're looking for something similar in Washington. The arches, the stone and everything. But Chabad over there used to be a forefront office, UPS, something became a Chabad, and it took them time to find it. And then finally they found, they're sitting together with the rabbi, they tell the story. The rabbi says, you know, you're more than welcome to come to our part of Washington, but if your wife is learning for conversion, then I would suggest you should live in a Jewish area where you have restaurants, where you have shiurim, where you have other religious people, where you can see real Jewish life. And there's a place called Fairfax, I think, in Washington. You should find a house over in Virginia. You should find a place, buy a house over there. He was not happy about it because traffic there is catastrophic. And he wanted to buy a house next to the company. And like this, he needs to drive through the traffic to work every day. So they come out of the meeting not too happy. Her cell phone rings. On the other side, her mother in Germany was no idea that she's married to a Jew and what she's thinking about. So they talk, and the mother hears something is, she sounds so sad. She asked, what's going on? Why are you so down? So she said, Mama, if you stand, better sit down. You know,
if you're sitting, maybe stand.
Yeah, I'm as you perhaps now I'm married to a Jewish person, and we just came out from a meeting with a rabbi, and she started to scream, "Rabbi, why you went to a meeting with a rabbi?" So she said the truth, because I want to be Jewish as well. And the mother started to explode. German mother in Germany. She said everything she thought. And then she said, in the end, it seems to me that this foolishness gets inherited in the family, and she put down the phone. She's telling the story to her husband. The husband is thinking, call your mother back. What she meant by this, the foolishness gets inherited. So she calls back, Mama, what you meant, foolishness gets inherited? So the mother said, no, you sit down.
And if you're sitting, stand up.
If you're sitting, stand up. She said, I'm not Jewish. I'm a Catholic. And you're not Jewish. We were in Catholic kindergarten and preschool. We went every Sunday to the church. My mother was Jewish, but this doesn't matter nothing, because in the times of the Holocaust, she was converted. So the doctor hears the story, and he's so nervous, and he called me up. It was nighttime, like 2:00. I take the phone. Huh? He was like, I'm sorry to wake you up, but this is the story what just happened. One question.
You were awake very fast.
I was awake very fast. If the mother of my wife was born Jewish and the grandmother was converted, does this mean it's finished, or that she's still Jewish? So I said to him, if it's mother to mother to mother, you can never change it. It's like the color of your eyes. You cannot change it. So he was like, oh, this means if she was Jewish, my wife is Jewish, my kids are Jewish, and then he told me, oh, you see, I married a shiksa on purpose, and this is what came out of it. So the year later, I was by the Kinos HaShluchim, the big banquet, and in the end is the big dancing. 5,000 people are dancing, and Hashgacha Pratit from 5,000 more people. I'm looking who is holding my hand dancing in the circle. It's this guy from the story. We took a picture and pointing at his tzitzis he's wearing, became a big supporter of Frankfurt, a supporter of the former FedEx Chabad today, and just a beautiful story of Hashgacha Pratit in Germany. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Hey,
Wow. L'chaim, l'chaim. Everything behashgacha pratit. I saw 27 states of America, and I love all of them. And every state has something special. Very interesting. There are like totally states which seem to me as an outsider totally opposite. Let's take Texas and Maine. Wow. So I think it was Maine, New Hampshire, something very, very much up high near the already Derech Canada. A very, very green, not just from the nature, also political wise, and left, very liberal state. So much so, and now I know why, that they don't like to put into the nature these poles which you need to have cell phone connection. So they're huge forests, and if you don't have the right provider, then you can lose the GPS. I have to give a lecture in a place, I forgot where, and I'm driving through a huge forest, like the Schwarzwald in Germany. And I'm driving, and suddenly
like the Schwarzwald.
Schwarzwald, yeah. I have no idea. Right, okay. That's famous. All the Israelis love it. So I'm driving through this huge forest I never saw before. And suddenly I'm losing my GPS and I'm losing my way. And I'm like in a Hasidic story. I'm lost in the forest and there's no hotel.
Wait, what's no?
Yeah, what's wrong? No story. So I'm driving and I'm getting nervous because I know the shliach is waiting for me. People are waiting for me, and I have no chance. I cannot call nobody. They are just animals. I don't know where to go. I'm driving like blind. And suddenly, like a ghost, I see a jogger jogging my way. And I go like, oh, Baruch Hashem. And I'm driving to him and I put down my window and he looks at me and he tells me, Shalom. I look at him and I go like, Aleichem. So I see he's a Jewish guy. And I tell him, listen, I have no cell phone connection. I'm totally lost. And I have to call the shliach and I need to find the way. So he said, because you have this and this connection, telecom, it doesn't work. You need whatever, something else. My phone does work. Call him from my phone. So he gives me his cell phone. I'm calling from his cell phone, the shliach. And I tell him, listen, I lost my way. I will be like an hour later. So I give him the phone back. And I tell him, listen, I'm sure you didn't put tefillin today. So he said, you should know one thing. I moved from New York here because I'm running away from Judaism. And that's why I'm jogging here. And I don't, literally, and I don't.
In case you should catch up,
so I told him, listen, you know how big are the chances that you are jogging in this forest and you meet a Chabad rabbi from Germany who has tefillin over here?
And it wasn't supposed to be here.
And I wasn't supposed to be here. So he told me, I'm not interested on the car, and he ran away. So I thought, wow, so such an opportunity, how it's possible that, why Hashem made that we meet? Okay, I need his phone, but he could send me any goy to send the phone. But then it helped me. Wow, he made a serious mistake. What was his mistake? He let me use his phone. So I have his number. So I came to the shliach and I told him the story. And I told him, this is the number. Call him up. I'm getting back to Germany. I forget about the whole story. A year later, and I have to look up, I forgot the name of the shliach. He called me up. He said, Rabbi Wagner, you remember that you came to us for the lecture? I said, yes. You remember the story with the jogger? I said, yes. I just want to tell you, he's a regular by us in the Chabad house. He came one Friday, and since then, he's every Friday, every Shabbos, he's in the Chabad house. So that's just amazing. That's how Hashem is putting the people together. L'chaim, l'chaim.
I was the men's bargain, bargain. Es negdog zaim rabbin oder vain men mirakel shikara I was a men's bargain was zaim bargain negdog zaim rabbin oder vain men mirakel shikara Harino Kitam Bavadavike Indakam Yoshiletsara Verano Seyama Harino Kitam Bavadavike Es mei doch sein, Rabbi no der Rai, and the Shikarai. Hey, was man sagen, was sein, Sanjay was sagen. Es mei doch sein, Rabbi no der Rai, and the Shikarai. Harmino You asked Betzal to say a few words about the Gimmel Tammuz. Where's Betzal went? Betzal. Betzal the masculine. Where did Betzal go? Betzal! Betzal! Oh yeah, I know he's there. He's talking about Yitzchok without us. Betzal. Maybe a few words. Not yet. Okay, soon. But you're on the. We're putting you in the, what do you call it, the batting order. When you, what is it? When you see a fork in the road, take it.
We spoke about the dollar, first dollar I got, which we keep like. I was by the kinos some years ago, and my wife called me that somebody broke into our house during the kinos. And in Germany, if somebody breaks into my house, it's different than into other houses because it could be a terroristic, could be a bomb. So it was a whole police thing with dogs, and the whole street was. So I remember I just thought about the dollars. They can steal everything because it's on the wall. Just let them not take the dollar. Baruch Hashem, they didn't take it. It's very, very precious to us.
But not only this, the Jews, like not only they were terrorists in my house, then they brought dogs in my house.
See, even dogs. We got from the Rebbe $2 directly. This one came for sure right from him because it made the whole start. And then in 2018, again in the community was a very difficult time. There were elections coming up for the board, politics. And somebody was running for the board where we understood that he's running there just to kick us out.
What board is the
you why, but I just have the feeling that's what I have to do. He went to his office, he took out the dollar, he got on Yud Aleph Nissan from the Rebbe. He said, "That's for you." I have the feeling the Rebbe wants me to give you the dollars. He had no idea what's going on in my life. I wrote to the Rebbe, I need to have a sign that the Rebbe is with us. When I got this dollar, I understood again, Kishen Tuchas, whoever is elected, and both Hashem, by now, this person who caused so much trouble is a regular in the minyan every Shabbos morning. L'chaim, l'chaim. Was a song.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. No, Leib. By the way, the big see this Leib here.
770.
No, it's Moshe 770. And it's Leib. Leib is a Talmud of David Vichni.
Oh.
But it's about Leib. No, Leib and Niggin. Leib and Niggin. Something semi-depressing.
Something depressing.
Did I find yeah, you know, see some yeah, it comes from Ward. Ward's, you know, Ward's Ward right there. Ward likes to feed Jews. It's a good skill. It's a good skill. He loves to make a salad and music and him and his mind make a salad. He sees a Jew smiling. Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So, a Jew smiling, obviously the Simchas Hashem. One smile from a Jew, one smile. It's so powerful. So it's amazing. Sicher the top is nicht mit uns zu verbringen. No question. I was probably used to that money. Legendary. Touch Colorado saying. Let me tell you, the only reason I want to be a fussy, I know what a fussy is. I just don't want to be like bitchy. That I know. But no, I didn't want to be pushed to that. I just want to be pushed to Fitch. And then I have. If you want to be like Fitch, you have to push it out.
One last story and I go to bed.
If you go to bed after the story, I have to make sure it's a very long meeting.
It's a long story.
Oh, okay, awkward. Hey. Krefeld is a nice city. Yeah. We should make go to it. We should get family, me, my family, something. So we should go and think together. Yeah. See, I have to we're exotic. But in your time, we're exotic.
Yeah.
That's hard. Americans. No. I'm just Russian. Yeah. What are you throwing here? Yeah.
It's a good sign that they like
it. Yeah. Because they're complaining, it's good. It means that you only say that never leave them totally satisfied. Leave them one thing more else. That means they have to bring me again.
Next story is
I see us here.
Next story is a story we will know. My wife.
So I better make sure it's working, huh? don't see video. I see here. I'll see video. Oh wow! So how do I do it? Can I see? How do I get on? Oh. We gotta make sure you get not even. Working. Then will be working. Then will be muted.
L'chaim. I'm ending.
You said it's a long story. Then if it's a long story, it's make it a little more.
I'm ending with the story I call the story my wife hates most. It's a story about stories, and it's, I guess, the most craziest thing which ever happened to me in my life.
So after all this thing is the most crazy thing.
This story.
Okay, now you have my ears.
This story now. This story now.
After all those things,
this story now made it to Hollywood. One of the top actors in Hollywood heard the story, and I had already contact with a lawyer because they wanted to make a film for me.
By the way, the name of the film.
Name of the film is "Excuse Me, Sir, Are You Jewish?"
The story is like this. Oh boy. Years ago, I don't know, like say 20 years, 15 years ago. No more. I have a friend, unfortunately passed away. He was a doctor for skin, dermatologist.
Dermatology.
Yeah. German, Jewish, not religious, but very pro-Israel. A fighter for Israel. And in those times, his hobby was to be in the internet, and there were certain chat places for intellectuals to discuss politics. And he was there it was his hobby to fight the Arabs in political, intellectual discussions about Middle East conflict. And in this chat room, there was a young girl. And he could see on the profile that she was with a hijab, and she was from Egypt. And it was for him very interesting that in all the political, intellectual discussions, she always took the side of Israel. It's those two against the rest. So he's sending her a message. For me, it's interesting how you know so good about politics. So she said, you guys, you know politics from the news. I know politics from my living room. What do you mean you know it from your living room? She said, my father is the ambassador to Egypt in Berlin. So what's going on in Israel, we discuss in the living room. I have firsthand, I know what's going on. I said, wow, that's amazing. So they kept contact. One day, it happened that her mother passed away. And the father, the ambassador in Berlin, her mother, by the way, was German. He married a German woman. And the ambassador, he couldn't take that his wife passed away. They were very much connected. And he became kind of mishuggah. And it went so bad that he couldn't get over his pain, losing his wife, that they caught him that he started to sleep by the cemetery. So since he came to such a level, sleeping by the cemetery, they understood that he needs to go on an official vacation for a longer time because the ambassador can't be like this. So they sent him back to Cairo. But when he was in Cairo, he took on himself a plane to go back to Berlin to be by the grave of his wife. It became so bad that everything, the public knew nothing about it. They thought it's like sick, ill. It became so bad that they had to put him in a mental institution. One day in the mental institution was a glass from like a bulletproof glass, and he ran from 20 meters with his head against it, and he killed himself. And so the mother was dead, the father was dead, and the young girl, let's say 18 years old, something, she had to deal with a lot of paperwork. And she's going through the paperwork, Cairo. And while she's going through the papers, she's getting the birth certification of the mother, and it says religion Jewish. She gets like a shock. She doesn't know any Jew besides my friend, the doctor. So she called him up and said, you know, you can't believe what I just found. In my mother's birth certification, it says Jewish. So he said, I don't know that much about Judaism, but if your mother is Jewish, welcome to the club. So she was a hijab. She's a religious Muslim woman. So he said, I don't know that much about Judaism, but I have a friend. I wasn't a rabbi then. I have a friend, and he knows about Judaism. Perhaps you should be in contact with her. So I got in contact with her, mainly over email. And we emailed back and forth, and she was interested to learn more what is Judaism. And I have this idea. When I'm starting to work with somebody in Kiruv to get him closer to Yiddishkeit, if it's a woman, it's much easier because there's no circumcision.
Yeah.
So
less convincing.
Yes, less convincing. So I tell her, listen, I think the first step in finding yourself is finding your Jewish name. Everybody has a Jewish name. Every Jew has a Jewish name. Perhaps your parents didn't give it to you. It doesn't mean you don't have one. You have to find it. So she said, I don't know any Jewish names. So I went on, I think, Chabad.org or Esha Torah, and I printed for her, or gave her a link to a list with Jewish girl names. Go through the list. When you find a name which is touching you, that's a sign that's your name. Then we will use this name, and this will be a start for you. So 2 days later, she sends me an email. I went through the list, and I catch the name Rachel. I love the name Rachel. So I said, great, welcome, Rachel. We did send her from the community Chumash, Tehillim, a Siddur. One day, she is in Cairo, because she's going back and forth. She had still this place in Berlin and the house in Cairo. And she's sending me an email. Wow. In this email, she wrote that she's in the library in Cairo. She was a student there. And she is on the computer and she's doing a research of Jewish life in Cairo. So, whom she's meeting in the computer? The Rambam. So she goes on the computer and she says, wow, the synagogue of the Rambam is still there in Cairo. And she's Googling the address and she says, wow, the address is near the university. And on the spot, she made the decision, I will visit my first synagogue. Let's go to the synagogue of Cairo from the Rambam. So she took her backpack, still with the hijab, and on the way to the synagogue. Before the synagogue is a soldier, and he sees her with a hijab and a backpack coming closer, and he's getting very nervous, and he takes his gun, and he goes like, stop. What you want? So she said, I want to go see the synagogue. So he said, give me your papers, the passport. She's giving the identity card. He looks at the identity card, he looks at her, and he said, is your father the ambassador of Egypt in Germany? And she goes like, how you know? He said, because I know your father. How you know my father? Because he said, your father, when they were living in Egypt, took your mother every week to the Rambam Shul. He, as an ambassador, didn't want that people should see that he's going into the Rambam Shul. He was parking around the corner. I took your mother, I took her to the shul, and then 20 to 30 minutes later, she came back out and I took her to the car and your father drove away. She was shocked. He let her in. She wrote, she went the first time, she prayed to God with the shoes on. She even took away her hijab. When she came back, the soldier or the policeman asked her, by the way, how is your sister doing? She looks at him and said, I don't have a sister. He said, it's interesting because your mother said she's coming to the synagogue, she's praying for her daughter Rachel. Your name is not Rachel. This was the name she chose, what the mother gave her. This was such a story. When I got this, I think it was published on Chabad.org. Such a beautiful story. One day, months later, it's one of those moments in life where you remember exactly where you were. Like September 11th, everybody knows exactly where you were. At this moment, I remember this moment exactly. I was visiting a friend in Cologne. I'm getting a call from my friend, the doctor. He said we have an emergency.
Sounds like it's like Chavav Adam. Chavav Adam, the last dollars. We all remember exactly every step we took every.
The doctor is calling and said we have an emergency. I said what's the emergency? I got a goodbye letter for Nuria. Her name is Egyptian name was Nuria. I said, what do you mean a goodbye letter? So he read me the email. Said that it's amazing what the Jewish community did to me, how much love and how much they cared, sent me books, so connected. But my mother passed away, my father passed away. The whole thing about being Jewish, it's just too much. And I decided to end my life. And there's a certain medication. I took overdoses of this. And I have to stop writing because my fingers are getting cold and stiff. So the doctor told me, I know when you take an overdose of this, the first thing that you need to go to the emergency care is your finger gets stiff. So I just got the email. She's somewhere in Egypt and she's dying and she needs somebody. So nobody had an address and nothing. So for 2 days, my parents killed me later because we had a telephone bill of... I tried to turn...
What year was this?
Say 20 years. I tried to turn over the world. I called the Rambam Shul. There was just answering machine. I called the embassy. They thought I'm a sugar, and they didn't put me through. Try to call the American embassy. You get it's easier to win the lottery than to get somebody to talk to. So,
no, but I remember from Ukraine, I'd make if I make a phone call.
They don't have no interest.
We would very, very fast with and I would have to write down notes of what I'm going to say first, so I could say it very fast.
Yeah.
And they would write down notes, and then we would send there was what's the letters that you would fold? It was a 1-page thing.
Yeah.
No, it was not telegram. It was a postogram something.
Yeah.
No, you'd send the mail, but it was a 1-page, and it was fairly cheap. And you could send, and we would send, but on the phone,
they didn't talk to you.
Right. So now you're here. You're trying to figure something out.
They don't talk to me. I say it's an emergency. They think I'm a sugar. I'm calling to Zaka. Zaka says, okay, we're ready to help, even in Egypt. But you know that Egypt has, 12 million people living over there, and on some roof somebody is dying over there. So what should we do? So that's it. Finished. Weeks later, I think to myself, it can't be that such a story has such a dramatic... This is the end. It can't be. In those times, perhaps you remember, there was something very cute called Yahoo greeting cards. A Yahoo greeting card is nice because when the other person is opening your greeting card, you get an email back that somebody opened it. Oh. So I sent a Yahoo greeting card to Nuria, and 2 days later, I get the email was opened. So I'm sending an email back that we're dying because we are so worried of what's going on. And somebody open, please share the information what happened to Nuria. And then days later, I'm getting an email from Nuria. And she said that mommy, she tried to kill herself. Weeks later, to kill herself. Before she did it, she was learning with a friend from university. He forgot his backpack in the house. So he came back to pick up his backpack and found her and put her to after she put the tablets and took her to the emergency room, and she survived. So since she was still connected to Germany and the embassy in Germany, they understood for mental problems, if somebody is trying to commit suicide, they have to go into a program. It's much better for her to be in Germany program than to be with the other mission program in Egypt.
Egypt program.
In the
Egypt program is called Hamas.
Yeah, Hamas. So she was in Berlin, and I even spoke to her on the phone, and she's in Berlin, and she's in this mental place. So I'm talking to her, and she tells me that she has a serious problem. One of the men working over there is visiting her at night. And it's not kosher what he is trying to do. And she tells me, but I have no chance because everybody thinks I'm a sugar, and he will just say that she's a sugar.
This is a common thing, by the way, in mental institutions.
Yeah, to take care. So when I heard this, I was very angry, and I said, listen, we do it through the Jewish community. Don't worry, we get you out of there. And give me, where are you? In which mental institution? She didn't want to give me the address. So I said, okay, listen, this is so serious. I'm sorry you don't want that, but I have your telephone number. I will call the police, and I will tell the police the telephone number, and through the telephone number, they will find where you are, and we get you out. So she understood that I will get her. She broke down. She started to cry for half an hour, and she started to tell the truth that the whole story from A to Z was invented. We're speaking about an 18, 19-year-old brilliant German, not Egyptian, not Jewish girl, bored, sitting on her bed with the notebook and inventing the whole story from A to Z. Such a story where she saw, then later when she saw that we all buy the story, we sent her a Siddur, we sent her Chumash, we give her so much love. She got such a bad conscience that she was looking for a way out, so she invented her own suicide. But after a couple of weeks, it became boring, so she restarted the whole story, and in the end, it was nothing, zero. A story about how to take sometimes stories. So this is like the craziest thing which ever happened to me. Whatever happened to me, it never happened. So when I was in Montreal, I was saying the story, and somebody who was making films was in the audience, and he said, "I like the story very, very much." And from
that's that for a film.
For a film,
many things the film. First of all, it's already a dramatic story.
Yeah,
but then it has a twist.
The
twist is the whole thing didn't exist. It's a twist. It's a crazy twist.
In his script, you know what's the last scene of?
Mamish became a film.
Not yet. She's right. You see the fingers writing on the computer.
See, by the way, he's to plug the film.
She's writing on the computer.
Yeah.
He wanted to make it like this. You see the fingers. The camera goes up, and she's wearing a Magen David, and that's the end. So you don't even know if this was invented as.
You're not sure what was the.
So the Rabbi Krasniansky from Montreal, his wife got from some Balabatim first class ticket. I don't remember, from Israel back to from New York back to Montreal, and she was sitting next to, I forgot his name. His last name I think is Gold, an actor from Hollywood, and she heard the story. So they had the connection. They told him the story, so he liked the story very much, and they started to make. But then came Corona and everything. Didn't work out in the end, but it's like a crazy story which. Just happened to me. Just amazing.
This is really a recent thing.
Huh? No, like 20 years ago. So yeah.
Recent.
Barely. In Jewish history, it's recent.
She
was amazing, brilliant.
Find
the Rambam. She Googled the whole information. She made up everything. Just the story. So if you see the story on Chabad.org, you know the real.
Wait, so to what degrees to what degrees it made up and not made? See that? That's why it makes a good movie because now
it was also made up.
Now I'm trying to track this story and I'm trying to figure out at what point was the made up part.
Everything was
and I
made
don't know. Was she Jewish?
Everything was made. Nothing.
It's not even Jewish.
Nothing.
That's what makes it a better story.
Nothing.
It's a good movie. That's for sure.
What about your friend?
No, we were very angry because we put money, we put emotions. I had a telephone bill, like I don't remember. You know.
I know. By the way, 20 years ago, I was in Ukraine. I remember I would make a phone call like that, and then I know you would never know this by my wife's American accent, but she's not from here. She's from Ukraine. So then I became when I was a chassan. When I was Bichlal in Ukraine, every phone call, and that, by the way, we get a special deal. Shlomo will, where you weren't by you were in Petrovsk. You about what you in Shmulik, Mr.
Yeah, I know.
Stambler. What were you doing in
my wife is from Ukraine, not me.
From where?
From Dnieper.
What year?
Oh, she came to Germany, I think, already 92.
Oh, okay. So it's much, yeah. But anyways, but I remember, so like there was phone calls, there was, luckily I was very lucky because Moshe Tambaski, he called me, so it didn't cost me anything. Right? I don't know if you remember Moshe Tambaski. Yeah. Moshe Tambaski, he got engaged right out. His chasna was a week after mine. Luckily, and by the way, it wasn't cheap to call, even from here, it wasn't also cheap to call. But from there, and then Shlomo Wilhelm, Shlomo Wilhelm, just told me this. So he had some Israeli, and it was cheaper. Yeah, trust me, cheaper. By the way, I still owe him. I paid him up over the years. I owed him like $2,000 from phone calls I made when he was gone. And I told him, he left me here alone to run the whole city. So of course I need to call people. I'm isolated, whatever. Anyway, yeah, it's a very expensive thing.
Well, thank you very, very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
For the Farbrengen.
Oh, wait, first of all, we not thinking how they're making a little bit, no? Hey, Ashrei, no, Ashrei, no, Ashrei, no, Ashrei, no, Ashrei, no, hey, Ashrei, no, Ashrei, no. Ashrei no, Matin, no, Ashrei no, Ashrei no, Matin, no. Hey, yo, man, Yim, hey, yo, hey, yo, man, Yim, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, man, you.
Was a good teamwork.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Maybe next time.
Next time in Krefeld, because you speak Russian.
What's I can't go to Germany.
Everybody speaks 99.5% Russian. So take it to the yeah, we have a nice apartment. You can go to Amsterdam, you can go to Paris. Okay, we'll wait for you. Oh, that's good. She married the right person, I see. Bye-bye.
Hey, did you think of what to say already? It's listen. We're being broadcast. We'll sing the Godim. It's now. Now it's good to hate. Hey, yo, man, no, yeah, it's still being recorded. No, let's do it now. Give him the hate a little bit. Come on, Vital, tell the people a little about Gimmel Tammuz, about the Rebbe. Let's go. Vital, you want me to do it? I'll do it. Okay. Where's Lade? Where'd Lade go? Moshe, come here. This is Thursday night. And Thursday night we do Gizud the Hate Street. So yeah. Where's Lade go? What happened to Lade? Come here. Lade, come here. Lade, you ready? Wait. You were the one who asked when I used to come to this. You asked for a cappella, right? Leibs, Smukler. What a guy, huh? By the way, you want to know something funny? I'll tell you, I went by Shui, right, the day before. I went to pick up the Rebbe's Yarmulke from Melvin Loptevsky. And once I'm there, I said, it's the day of the Chasna, the morning of the Chasna. So I said, to fully come with me, let's go, we'll go to there with like this. We got your mikveh ready up there. I went by Earl Khan. Back then, we didn't have a mikveh. Now they have mikveh. Right, so anyway, so you ran. Right. So who do I see? I don't even know what's that. I look at him, I say, are you David Schmuckler's son? Are you David Schmuckler's son? He's a young guy. I told him, are you David Schmuckler's son? He looked at me and he said, no, I'm David Schmuckler. So I told him, so you must be Yossi Schmuckler's son, David. He said, no, I'm Yossi Schmuckler's older. It's David Schmuckler. He doesn't age.
Are we still broadcasting?
Yes, but I need late. I need late. I need late.
So
I have a question. Who are we broadcasting?
To the whole Facebook, the whole YouTube.
Who are we broadcasting? Play.
Ready?
There's one guy out there.
Okay. Late. You're gonna sing with me or what?
And you know what? We'll broadcast.
Ready? We gotta do the whole church. Okay. Okay. You know what? I want to say. I'll say.
Oh yeah, like the bike one, but on bars.
I'm somehow always at fault. Am I not?
Well, not fault. It's fantastic.
It's amazing, right? It's amazing. No, by the way, you know what it is? You know, to give you even this is a shliach. It's himself about you.
Like 100 feet off.
And not only that, and he's from Krefeld, Germany, and he goes back there.
Where?
Krefeld, Germany, and then he goes back there to turn over the very self-same place. You know what it is? By the way, I heard a little bit about it, and my thought was, this is what we need to understand. We're coming up on by Gimmel Tammuz.
This?
Come to the point where we need to consider what does the Rebbe mean to us. What's okay? The Rebbe, blah blah blah. Right now, Catholics. What does that mean to me and you here now today? Right? Fine. Kunim, right? Kunim. But who's Mendel Markel? Who's more Epstein? We are. We are Hasidim of the Rebbe. That's who we are. But we are. Remember that. But we are. But Hasidim we are. But more. Let me tell you something. Wednesday night. By the way, it's I hope it's going to change to Tuesday night.
Why is that?
Because I have a Dionys here with the Sivan. It's going to change to Tuesday. Oh, by the way, and you should also know, I just ordered a bunch of really good cigars.
I was thinking about cigars. Just thinking about cigars.
Anyways, I'll tell you like this.
Elevation.
What does it mean, Ashtiya? Doesn't mean you're under America. Doesn't mean you go to the convention.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it
more. There is, Yossi Batil said this very well. So there is no other kind of Chassid Chabad. Chassidic Chabad is the Rebbe message. Yes, maybe unfortunately you need to be under the system. But the real thing is, we are the Rebbe's Chassidim, we are the Rebbe. You know what that means more? That means that me, Moshe 770. Moshe 770. It's not good enough that he thinks about himself anymore. You understand more? Because Moshe 770, is connected to Rebbe. And by the way, Moshe 770, just like I could be like, right? What? I can't think of myself. I have this bright. I have this. Mendel Markel has this problem. Mendel Markel has that problem, right? And Moshe could also tell you, right? I know with your car accidents and what, right? But Moshe could for sure tell you, right? Oh, I have enough problems, but the Rebbe doesn't care for those answers. The Rebbe needed us, Moshe, me and you. It doesn't make a difference what problems we have with ourselves. The Rebbe needed us. That means you too. Wait. By the way, you should know, Bitzala, can I tell you something? This is Moshe. There was a guy who was coming to make Masquerade. I met this guy. This guy's a total. He's out there. You don't know where his. He's brilliant, but he also don't know where his head is and where his feet is.
He's really have.
But he's out. He's
Jewish too.
Right, and Bitzala, can I tell you something? You know, Moshe told him. Who cares? To the whole world. And Moshe told him, Moshe told me, you're a Jew, why don't you come to the show?
Yeah?
You know why? Because that's what, because Moshe is a chassid of the Rebbe. You know what a chassid Rebbe is? Her chassid Rebbe is Moshe. A chassid Rebbe doesn't worry, where am I home? And by the way, yes, it's true. As the chassid Rebbe, we need to improve ourselves. But the point is, as a chassid Rebbe, we care about the
Mendel. Enough of your voice already.
Who's the we that we're talking about? Who's the we? Yeah. Oh, you British people on your royal we.
Okay, but he's the greatest. He saw David.